The Unravelment Book 2, Grief by Carl Turner. Acknowledgements. I dedicate this novel to my cousin, Tiffany Ferrier, and her late son, de Marquise Travillon French. Tiffany, your strength through this unimaginable pain, and your love for your son, have inspired me in ways words can hardly express. This book is for you, and for baby de Marquise, who will always be a part of our family. I also want to acknowledge Marcus French, de Marquise' father. Marcus, I know how deeply you loved your son. Witnessing your tears on that dreadful day at the funeral is a memory that will always stay with me. I won't let you go without being acknowledged as well. Thank you to my family for believing in me throughout this journey. Your support with my first novel, The Unravelment, means the world. To everyone who purchased the book, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Yes, the series will continue, and I have hopes to bring The Unravelment to the big screen one day. Until then, I'm grateful for every one of you who has supported me along the way. Chapter 1. The Weight of Silence. The air was thick with the scent of charred wood and burning memories. Mallory stood at the window, staring out at the Seattle skyline, her gaze unfocused, lost in a fog of grief. It had been 3 years since the fire that took her son. 3 years, and yet, she could still smell the smoke, taste the ash, feel the weight of the silence that had swallowed her entire world. She thought of the day it happened, the worst day of her life. The fire had been quick, too quick. A simple mistake. She'd stepped outside to take a phone call, leaving the stove on in the kitchen. It had been a brief conversation, just a few minutes, but it was all the time the flames needed to spread, to reach the curtains, to catch the crib where Noah had been sleeping. She remembered hearing the crackle of the flames when she came back inside, the thick smoke that had rushed to her lungs. She'd run, but the door wouldn't open. It was as if the house was holding her back, as if it knew she couldn't bear to face the truth on the other side. The screams she never heard. The baby she could not save. The firemen had arrived minutes later, but by then it was too late. Noah was gone. Now, 3 years later, Mallory still couldn't breathe right. She could still hear the crackling, still see the flames licking the walls. And most of all, she could still hear Noah's cries echoing in her ears, haunting her, even when she was awake. Maybe one day, you'll be able to let him go, her therapist had told her in a voice that had sounded more like a suggestion than a diagnosis. But that day isn't today. She hadn't said anything in return. How could she? She wasn't sure if she wanted to let him go. How could she release him when it was her fault, when she had failed him? The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent, and Mallory flinched, startled. She wasn't expecting anyone. As she moved to answer the door, her fingers brushed across the kitchen counter, lingering on the cold, unused stove. The same stove that had once held such promise, now only a reminder of her greatest regret. When she opened the door, she found a letter on the doorstep, its envelope adorned with gold lettering. It wasn't the usual mail. A sweepstakes, it seemed, though it looked more like a personal invitation. Her name was written in a flourish on the front. She turned it over, inspecting the seal, a symbol of a tree, its roots deeply intertwined with the earth. Paradise Island Resort was printed beneath it in elegant script. Curious, Mallory slipped her finger beneath the flap and opened the envelope. Inside was an invitation to the island, a free getaway, a chance to heal. The promise of a paradise for anyone who needed it, though the fine print was more cryptic than helpful. She read it aloud softly, the words catching in her throat. You are invited to Paradise Island Resort, a place for healing, reflection, and renewal, for those who have suffered loss and seek to reclaim peace. Come, let the garden heal you, let the water soothe you, let the air breathe life into your soul. Mallory frowned. It seemed too perfect, too strange. Her eyes drifted over the rest of the letter, which described the resort's luxurious amenities, its secluded location, and its healing atmosphere. It even mentioned a hospital, Paradise Medical, at the heart of the island. The promise of peace and restoration sounded almost too good to be true. The final line caught her attention, more than it should have. In this place, the past can be released, and the future awaits. A shiver ran down her spine. She didn't know why, but something about this invitation felt urgent, like it was meant for her. Maybe it was the word release that stuck with her, or perhaps the subtle suggestion that the island could help her let go of what she'd lost. She knew she needed to talk to Alan about it, but for some reason she hesitated. What would he think of this? Would he believe in something as strange as this, or would he think it was just another scam, another desperate attempt to escape from the pain they both lived with every day? She glanced over at the table, where a picture of Noah stood in a silver frame. He was smiling in the photo, his chubby cheeks full of joy, his little arms outstretched as if he were reaching for something. Reaching for her. She felt the familiar weight of guilt press on her chest, but this time there was something different in the air. Something that felt like a shift, a glimmer of hope she hadn't allowed herself to believe in for years. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the answer she'd been waiting for. Her heart pounded as she stared at the invitation once more. Alan had always told her to keep moving forward even when it felt impossible. Maybe this was the way forward. Maybe this was what she needed to finally find peace. With a deep breath, Mallory made up her mind. She would go. She would see what Paradise Island had to offer. And maybe, just maybe, she could finally start to let Noah go